Today, what I want to demonstrate to you is how to produce a two-page letter, a letter with a continuation page. So it's not just standard that you would continue typing, and there's some rules that you need to follow. So firstly, let me share my screen. Okay. And we shall bring up a letter, which I have already produced. Okay, I've already typed it. So up here we can see this is on our letterhead. Okay, so our company are Sanchez Tweeds. This is our address, our company address and such like. Okay, I have typed up this letter and I'm sending it to European Travel. So this is my company address who I'm sending from, and this is the address I'm sending to. First things first, what we must do is include our reference. So the reference is always the initials of the person who wrote the letter, and then a / oblique and the initials of the person who's typed the letter, the administrator. Okay, so in this instance, the person who's written the letter is A. Ford. So we will reference AF and then / oblique KM for my initials. Okay. What we do then is we insert 2 enters, okay, 1, 2, 2 enters, and if I put on my display here, you can see these 2 enters, then we put in the date. Okay, so if I'd been typing this normally, what I would do at the end of the line, enter, enter, and then today's date, which is St Andrew's Day actually, 30 November 2020. You should write the date as 30 November or 30th November 2020. Do not write it as 30/11/2020. Okay, and again 2 enters, so 1, 2, then we have the address we're sending to. In this case, I don't have a name of a person here. Okay, I'm just sending to the company, and down here I don't know the name either. But what I might want to do is after this, I might say for the attention of the managing director, okay, or editor, FAO, for the attention of FAO, for the attention of the managing director. There we go. In order to make this stand out, what I will do is underline it. Okay, so I will underline, make this stand out slightly. Okay, and then down here, I don't know the names of the people I'm writing to, so I've just written Dear Sirs. If you were writing to a general customer, it may be Dear Customer or Dear Householder. In this case, it's a company, so I'm just writing Dear Sirs. I don't know the name of the managing director, and this might be slightly sexist, assuming that they're male, but it's traditional. Okay, if you don't want to use Dear Sirs, then you can say Dear Sir or Madam. Okay, and that way you're taking account of both. Dear Sir, Madam. So I've written my letter, okay. So again, if I put on my display up here, you can see I have 2 enters after here. So the general rule of thumb is 2 enters, 1 at the end of the line and 1 there to create a blank line, 1 at the end, 1 there. So keep 2 enters between everything so you've got a blank line. Okay, there we go. Then I come down, start my letter, I've started typing it, and again, 2 enters between each paragraph. Okay, there we go. On the second page of my letter, but what I cannot do is just carry on typing like this. Okay, I need to make it known that it's the second page of a letter. So what I have to do is 2, take the underline off, 2, and then 2 enters, 1, 2, and then the date, okay, the date, 30 November, 30 November 2020, and then 2 enters, 1, 2, and the name of the person or the company. Okay, so in this case, European Travel. If I had a name up here, if it was Dear Mr. Sanchez or Dear Mr. Smith, then I would put Mr. Smith down here or Mrs. Smith. Okay, but in this case, European Travel. So whatever you have on top of your address box, if you like, your address information is what you put down here. Okay, and then for another 2 enters, and then we come down and we continue typing the letter. Okay, now this letter ends yours sincerely. This is incorrect. It should be yours faithfully, because I do not know the name of the person that I'm typing to. Okay, if I did have the name of a person up here, then I could use sincerely. If I do not have the name of a person, then it must be faithfully. What we do then is 5 enters. 5 enters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before I put the name of the person writing the letter and their job title. Okay. This means that there's enough space here for the person to physically sign their name on the letter. The job title, director, should be similar to any heading of the letter that we have up here. So if we had a heading of a letter, what we would do is heading, subject heading, if you like, potential collaboration. Okay, I would maybe make this bold, make it stand out, and then I would make sure that the job title down here was laid out the same way. Capitals, bold. Okay, and as we can see, our letter has now jumped. So I'm going to cut that information, going to force Control and Enter forces a page break, and I will make sure that I have this information here. Okay, there we go, 2 enters between paragraphs. So that's how you would lay out a letter. Your reference, 2 enters, date, 2 enters, address, 2 enters either for the attention of, or it might be confidential. You could also have confidential here as well. If you're writing a letter that you want confidential. If it's only for the eyes of the person seeing it, okay. We will change that back. There we go. Changing it back to what it was. Undo button is one of the best inventions there is. Okay, so 2 enters, 2 enters, 2 enters, 2 enters, 2 enters, 2 enters. Okay, and remember and keep your heading the same style as your job title down here. Okay, if you know the name of the person that you're writing to up here, if it's Dear Mrs. Smith, then you would say yours sincerely down here. It would be sincerely. That's only if you know the person's name up here, okay? Only if you know the person's name, Dear Mrs. Smith, okay? If you don't know the person's name, if it's Dear Sir or Madam, then at the bottom in your signatory block, it's faithfully, okay? So these are the general rules of thumb. Faithfully if you do not know the name, and sincerely if you do know the name. Always, always, always 2 enters between paragraphs and between your reference, date, address, such like, okay? And this is the order they come in, reference first, then date, then address. That's the rule of thumb as well, okay? So reference, then date, then address. Sometimes you would have in for attention of somebody or other, sometimes you wouldn't, sometimes you would just have Dear Sir or Madam, or Dear Mrs. Smith, okay? But in this case, we have for attention of as well. And that is how you lay out a 2-page letter. So the second page, 2 enters, date, 2 enters, and then the name of the person or the name of the company that you're writing to. Okay, let's stop sharing and come back. And that's how you lay out a 2-page letter. Okay.